Hello, welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 19. Jon and Wendy talk to Jessica Miller-Merrell. I'm your host, Jon.
And I'm Wendy. How's it going, Jon?
I am well, and I have to say the timing for this episode could not be any better. It's great that the guest that we had right in front of SHRM 18 and all of us getting to meet in Chicago for the conference. I just luck would have it that we could make it work. Wendy, I don't know. Some people maybe not have listened to episode 0. Maybe you could talk a little bit about why guest is the perfect fit for this time.
It was a year ago, Jon, that you and I were unable to go to SHRM 17. Oh, poor us. But we both got on, we're on Facebook and joined the Not at SHRM group there. And that was led by our guest tonight. And we're able to stay connected to what was going on. From there, we got the hashtag Not at SHRM 17 going on Twitter. So we were able to connect with attendees on Twitter. We attended. I don't know about you, Jon, but I know I was able to attend a couple of things that Jessica shared on Facebook, did some Facebook Lives. Maybe not as good as being there, but still got to learn and interact. And, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the Not at SHRM group. So I think we owe Jessica a drink at SHRM in Chicago this year.
I would absolutely agree. And, I was fortunate enough to meet our guest, SHRM 16, and saw some of the fun stuff she was getting to do. I guess it was the tech stage. I don't think it was a smart stage. It was another little pop-up kind of thing, and to talk to her a little bit there. But how about we make the introduction so we can get officially started and bring her into the conversation?
I think that's great. Jessica Miller-Merrell is a workplace change agent and author focused on human resources and talent acquisition, living in Austin, Texas. She is recognized by Forbes as a top 50 social media influencer, and she is the founder of Workology. Jessica, welcome to our podcast. And our first question is, what's in your glass tonight?
Oh, what should be in my glass tonight is how we should start this conversation.
True, I think so.
I am a fan right now of Pinot Noir, so I have been trying to diversify my wine. I'm normally a white wine drinker, so as I get older, I think more experienced, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to try some new things. So I've been working my way through the different types of Pinot Noir. So I will say that's what I should be drinking right now. Sadly, I'm sitting in front of a Starbucks because we don't have power at my house due to a storm. That's what I wish I was drinking, and yet I'm not. But I will be very soon.
Very soon.
Jessica,
I may join you in one later.
Jessica, I have to say, I think you're our first guest that has taken part via vehicle outside, outside the internet, and appreciate you making that accommodation for us, because I know it gets a little crazy when the power's out. I know you're not practicing what most would consider traditional HR these days. How did you first get into the industry?
Very accidentally. I had graduated from college and went to work for Target as part of their manager training program. And I went through this boot camp that they used to have called Target University, and pretty much ignored most of the human resources part of the presentation. I think like most good managers unfortunately do. I wanted to be a store manager and didn't think that human resources was important. And I went through the training, and then I went to my job shadowing. And that's when I found out that they had moved me to a human resources role. And I wasn't particularly excited about it, but I went through my first holiday season at the Target store and realized how critical my role was. It was kind of like the secret sauce for the company and for that particular store location. Nobody knew how important my job was if I didn't hire the right people, keep them engaged, staff the store appropriately in terms of having people there when the customers are there. It was this secret that HR that nobody knew about. So that's how I ended up in this crazy, fun, and just industry that I love.
Awesome. So tell us more about Workology, the website, the podcast. I love what you post out there, obviously, since especially the stuff that I post for you. anything new and upcoming that you can share with us?
Yeah, I'm always trying new and different things. We're going to be adding a chatbot to the website as sort of an experiment to see the types of questions that people have, things that you might ask. It might be like something like, hey, where do I get more information about HIPAA? Or I have a Department of One question. Do you have a PTO policy? And we'll look at those questions. But then it also might be like, where do I find your podcast? Like navigational, logistical stuff. Like, how do I email Jessica? Those type of things. I am interested to see how it's going to work. And I think hopefully for a lot of HR folks, you can visit the site and you can play with it a little bit. I have just put some basic Q&A framework in, so you build out your own commonly asked questions and build the responses. So it's not perfect, but I think it will be fun for you to maybe play around with a little bit.
Very cool. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility for the chatbots, particularly in our space.
Jessica, we've already talked quite a bit about Not at SHRM and how important it was to me and to Wendy last year. And what led you to start that group initially? What was the impetus for that?
I have had my share of SHRM FOMO before, fear of missing out. And I think the very first year that I was on Twitter was New Orleans SHRM, not this one previous, but I think 9 years ago. And I just watched from Twitter all the activities that were happening, and they had their first blogger session, and really felt I was really torn and sad that I couldn't be there. I wanted to so badly and couldn't. And so I like Facebook groups because they do allow for a little bit of privacy and containment, and the live video piece within the group is really interesting. So there's already lots of Facebook groups out there, but I thought like the Not at SHRM group that allows for us to kind of connect with other people who are at SHRM or not at SHRM, and maybe build on those relationships and kind of be part of this camaraderie and the spirit that I feel like happens when you're at the SHRM annual conference.
So what are your plans for Not at SHRM this year?
Well, I'm hopeful that we will be announcing at the end of this week kind of a list of activities, and my goal is to have 3 to 5 live streamed events happening each day during the conference. I know Wendy's going to be assisting. Several others are going to be participating. So we will be posting kind of a schedule of events. So it's sort of a conference without a conference inside of a Facebook group. So you can join the group. We'll kind of publish and pin the schedule and then agenda, and then you guys can kind of drive the conversation as members. If you want us to go show you what it's like to eat deep dish pizza, I'm totally down with that. But if you want us to head into a specific session or maybe talk to somebody from SHRM, we can kind of be like your real-time reporters on the street and go in and get the answers and responses and just ask those questions that you might have that you want to know about the conference or a particular speaker, or within the SHRM folks, find out and connect with those different representatives, the SHRMies as they like to call themselves.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to being on the other side and helping people get connected through Facebook. And John and I were just kind of talking about what are we going to do, what do we want to do, and so part of it too is balancing sharing with getting our own experience in and sharing that with everybody else. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun challenge.
Yeah, I think if we organize our time, SHRM is crazy. There's 17,000 people there, and there's so much to do, so many people to talk to, so many activities and sessions to participate in. So I do want to organize our time because I want you and me and the others to be able to have fun and experience the SHRM the way we would like to experience. But we can pop in for 15 minutes at a time and kind of maybe watch a live session or talk to a speaker or walk around the expo floor and kind of give people a look inside of what's happening at the conference without them being there.
I think it'll be great. So, Jessica, now it is time for everyone's favorite part of our show, the half-hour question connection. Do you remember how you first connected with us?
We guys kind of gave it away.
I think we did
at the beginning. So it makes it super easy because you gave me the answers. I do remember connecting with both of you on Twitter first. That's kind of the go-to place. But Wendy also writes for Workology, and we're Facebook friends. But I do remember connecting with you on Facebook last year and took part in the festivities and the step challenge and some of the cool things that we did there. And Jon, I'm trying to remember where we met at SHRM. If it was a happy hour or it was in the Bloggers Lounge. I'm not sure, but I do remember.
It was in the Bloggers Lounge. I was a hanger on. Got a chance to visit, and like I said, it was I think it was that Wednesday you were doing something with Dave Ryan, and I think I've maybe videoed it for you if I remember correct, something like that. But
yeah. Well, that's the fun part of SHRM. I feel like it's a good chance to just connect with so many different and interesting people that are in the trenches doing the job. As you said, I'm not in the practitioner role like I once was. I kind of dip my toe in occasionally, and then of course am involved in terms of with the blog, and I kind of see myself and the work that we do on the blog is the voice of HR. So we're kind of diving into topics and trying to uncover resources and information for those HR and recruiting practitioners.
Speaking of insight, Jessica, who do you like to read or follow to gain insights on your end?
So I was thinking about this when you sent this over to me. There are a lot of good people in the blog space in HR that I like to read. Many of them are members of the blog squad. However, I kind of like to look for people that aren't in our industry at all, that have nothing to do with human resources, and sort of dive in and read about kind of their thoughts and points of view and be able to bring those in. So one blog that's a longtime blog that I like to read is called Leadership Freak. And he has a lot of good manager leadership articles, resources. That's a good one. I will tell you, and this is going to sound crazy, but one of the blogs that inspired me to really kind of take my website and the community that we were trying to cultivate to the next level was sort of a Hollywood tabloid blog. And and so it's Perez Hilton, if you're familiar with him. I find him really interesting. So I'm always looking at like the type of content that he's sharing, the resources, but I try to get inspiration from other places. I've been doing a lot of reading right now in the area of psychology and health and wellness, and seeing how we might be able to apply like some foundations into our into my crazy life, but also into HR in our workplaces.
So what's your favorite movie?
I am such not a movie person, I will say. My background, just for those that don't know, is I was raised by hippies in Kansas. We did not have television. I had like 3 stations, PBS and maybe 2 other stations that were picked up on the antenna that we had on our television. So it was pretty, we lived in the country, and it was a great way to grow up, but I didn't watch a lot of TV or even go to the movie theater a lot when I was a kid. So show that I have always liked, and it's not like Oscar worthy or anything, but one of my favorite shows has always been Pretty Woman. And I'm definitely a Julia Roberts fan, and so I probably watched that movie about 20 times. It's one of the few DVDs I own.
How about your favorite musician or band?
So I'm a little bit more old school. And it's funny, like I'm starting to get excited now living here in Austin when like my bands come to town. And so I just booked tickets to see Kansas. So I'm really excited about, and I've never seen them live. I also really love Billy Joel. I love instruments, particularly the piano, and I've seen him live last year too. So those are kind of 2 of my favorites.
Well, I know you said you didn't watch much TV growing up, but do you have a favorite TV show?
I do. So I don't watch lots of TV, but I do have a Netflix. So
there you go.
We do a lot of that. Right now I've been watching, and it's something that's just came out, and it's I like Superman and kind of the Star Wars stuff. And so I'm watching Krypton. I think it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. And it's kind of a little bit crazy, but it's about Superman before Superman, like 200 years before.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, one of the main characters is Superman's grandpa. And he's just a young, good-looking guy, and he's, trying to fight and save Krypton and Kandor City, the city that he lives in. So it's kind of been a fun one that I've been watching recently.
I wonder if my husband knows about it. I might have to see.
It's good for kids. My daughter's a superhero. Like, she likes the Justice League and that whole thing. So we can watch it, and there's not any not suitable scenes, kind of like the earmuffs or the sort of things that kids shouldn't be watching. Awesome. The Little Monster is a little too much for my 9-year-old, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
I don't have to dig too deep this time, believe it or not. It's not a direct. It is a direct. When I was teaching marching band way back when, one of the bands I worked with did a Kansas show. So I spent an entire summer putting together, not only teaching the music, but also drill and stuff for a full Kansas show. It's one of my favorites I ever did. 'Cause I like Kansas, and I also like Styx a lot. And I saw Styx a few years ago. They were fantastic. And I love that kind of, I'm with you. I'm in that era for a lot of stuff. So yeah, taught Dust in the Wind and Point of No Return. Song of America? It was all greatest hits stuff. It was really, really fun.
I would love to see marching band to Kansas and Styx. Like, I'm a band geek, and I went to the OU game and the Ohio State game just so, like, one of the things was to be able to see the marching band, because the Ohio State marching band is legendary. I would love to see that.
I will try to find video of that. We'll have to talk sometime. I have in my mind, I designed a Styx show in the 90s that opened with Lady and would just blow everybody's minds if I could make it work. But that was a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. Anyway,
HRmarchingband.com.
Yeah, well, and there are some HR musicians out there that we talk to. But so if you're not watching Pretty Woman, listening to Kansas Billy Joel, watching Krypton, Jessica, what else do you like to do outside of work?
I am kind of sort of this weird mix of, like, modern feminist, but then I'd like homemaking stuff. So I love to can. It's like my happy place, because it's just like, I like to can tomatoes. I make tomato sauce, ketchup, barbecue sauce. I do jams, all this stuff. But it's a great way for me to not have to think about work or business and just focus on the making aspect and, like, the art aspect of it. And that's a lot of fun.
So, Jessica, finally, if you weren't in HR, what do you think you'd be doing professionally?
Originally, I thought that I would be a music teacher, funny enough. And I was a flute and piccolo player and played a little piano. And so I wanted to be an English teacher and a music teacher. I didn't have the patience for advanced college English. I thought people sat around and read the thesaurus all day, and that just wasn't for me. I'm a doer. I'm a go out and make it happen kind of person. That was what I had aspired to do when I was younger. I don't know if it would have been right for me, but that was in the original plans.
Jessica, mind blown yet again. So, I was a band director before I got into HR, and my wife is a flute player.
Oh, cool.
Fairly accomplished. Has performed in symphonies here in town and what have you, over the years. So there is a contingent of folks out there, because I talk to them, and there's a handful of us that talk about this stuff. I have to say, it's great to make those connections, and we'll have to talk about this in Chicago. I really appreciate you joining us, especially all things considered, the environment that you're in. I'm hoping that your power is restored by the time you get home and you can move along there. This is your chance now to let folks know, how would you like them to reach you out there on the internet?
Well, I would love for you guys to join the Not at Sherm group on Facebook. And I set up a little short tag too. So you can search just for Not at Sherm Annual if you want to join the group, and then I'll take a look at your profile. And I mean, if you're in HR, everyone will be accepted, but I'll send it out. I would love for you to participate. Feel free to tweet me or email. Email is not my favorite, although I'm getting better. Sometimes Facebook Messengers, Wendy knows, is the best way to get in touch. Text, Facebook Messenger, emails last. I will answer the phone probably before I check email to talk to someone, but I would love any feedback, suggestions, ideas that you might have for anything related to SHRM or anything related to resources that you need to be able to be your best in your jobs, in your human resources and recruiting roles.
We will be sure to add that all to the show notes for sure. And Wendy, how about you? What's the best way for your listeners to find you?
Sure. Best way to find me is on Twitter. I am Windall93, WINDALL 93, or on my blog, mydailyjourney.com, or even on Workology. Get some more posts out there as well. How about you, John?
You can always find me on Twitter, Jon, Jon_Thurmond, THURMOND. Happy to connect on LinkedIn. As always, ask if you'll send me a personalized note. Let me know you heard of the show or the chat. I appreciate it. If you have a question or comment about the show or the chat, or a friendly reminder, this is your last chance to get in questions regarding the Jon and Wendy Talk to Each Other episode or episodes that will be coming out very soon, where we interview each other. We are asking you, the listener, to ask the questions. Again, we will screen them. We may cut them out if we don't think they're appropriate. I think you're a good group, and that's not going to be a problem. But if you want to send those questions, and you're listening to this prior to June 15th, you have the opportunity to do that at hrsocialhourpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook if you search HR Social Hour. You can find the show at hrsocialhourpodcast.podbean.com. We're on iTunes, Podbean, Podchaser, HR Podcasters, Google Play, and TuneIn. And folks, as I always ask, if you like what you hear, rate and review. It helps us so much when it comes to visibility for the show. Again, Jessica, really appreciate you being with us tonight. Look forward to seeing you real soon. And for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm Jon.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network.
Network.
Take care, everyone.